guest. He's not really a guest. He's been here before. As a matter of fact, he's my first guest when I broke the 813 Sports Network. He's my very first guest. He needs very little introduction. If you're from Tampa and you're a Miami Hurricane fan, ooh, then you you definitely don't need any introduction. So we got Coach Bernard Clark, head coach of Robert Morris University football, and good to have you back, Coach. How you doing?
It's great, man. It's great to be back. I'll call you D Bear. You want to call Aaron? Which one?
Oh, it don't matter to me. Don't matter to me.
It's great, D Bear. It's great to be back, man. It's a great opportunity to sit down and talk with you again. Talk about our season. Talk about some of the things that have gone on in my life, that have happened in my life, over the past year. I think that was the last time we spoke, probably about a year ago.
Yeah, about a year ago.
Yeah, yep. And just trying to get things updated. So it's pretty nice.
Cool. Good. So first things first, we won't jump right into it, but you did something kind of out of the ordinary. I know a lot of people didn't expect you doing this exact thing, as you call. You said I did a thing.
Yeah.
You wrote a book.
Yes, I did. I wrote a book, it's something that God put on my heart, and it's definitely right. God-driven. It's not something I ever thought I'd do, and I even talk about it in the book. I'm not a good speller. I'm not an author. I'm not any of those things. But when God puts it on your heart, it's something I think you need to follow through with. And it's been in the works probably about almost 20-something years right now.
Right.
But it came out at the right time. It's probably
right.
the best thing.
Right. And we'll dig more into the book at a later time. But yeah, man, I thought that was fantastic. And so just to touch on a little bit, the book thing actually jumped off when we concluded our first interview. And so from then on, it was like a sprint. So I know you went through the season, got the season done, and then hopped right into the book, and got it done.
It was a sprint because of who you connected me with. When you connected me with Eli, Eli did a great job, Gonzalez, of just getting on top of it and pushing me to say, "Hey, coach, we got to get this, we got to get this." And he was throughout the season, and he'd like, "Okay, you got a bye week this week. I need you to call me. I need 2 hours." And so he was the one that made me get it out there, because he was like, "You've been doing it since 2001. You need to get it done."
Right.
And the parameters of the book were already written.
Right.
The book was already set. Everything was there. It was just him kind of helping me put everything together and making it all mesh together. And he did a great job. Eli's unbelievable.
Right. Yeah, and we'll talk more about that too. But yeah, the original manuscript that you sent me after the interview was, I knew it was going to be a great book after I read the original manuscript, and I reached out to Eli and I said, "Man, you may have got you one." And then he hopped on it, and we'll make it happen. And we'll jump into it. But so a lot of things have happened since the last time we connected. Talk about the season, last year's season. How'd it go?
Well, the thing about it, we joined a new conference, and we joined the conference in 20, but obviously in 2020, everything shut down.
Right.
So it was one of those situations in 2020, nothing could happen. So we were in a new conference then. We joined what's called the Big South Conference, actually the conference that
Big South
years ago. When I was at Liberty with you, we used to be in that conference. So we jumped in that conference, but we didn't play the fall of 2020. We played the spring of 2021, and we didn't do very well. We went 0-3, and so obviously after it was over, we had the press conference that summer of 21. Going into it, everybody picked us to finish dead last. It was one of those situations, and it's a tough situation. I'm not making excuses, but we went into a new conference. We left a conference with 43 scholarships. We went into a conference where everybody has 63 scholarships, but we still have 43. So it's a situation where it was an uphill battle. But the thing about it is, you don't complain about stuff like that.
No,
because all you worry about is, this is how we can win the football game. This is what needs to happen to win the football game, and those are the things we did. We picked to finish dead last. We ended up finishing third. We finished up 4-6, but the guys played hard. It was a situation where a lot of the games we lost, the only game we got thrashed, and I'll be the first to say it, was Kennesaw. Kennesaw thrashes, and North Carolina A&T thrashes pretty good too. But the thing about it was a closer game with North Carolina than it was with Kennesaw. Kennesaw just kind of ran us over a little bit. And
they run that triple, right?
Yeah, if you're not prepared for the option, if you don't have the guys to play for the option, it's a tough situation. But what our guys did at home, whenever we had a home game, it's like the fans love to come. We were selling out almost every game because they knew our guys were going to win every game. Our guys love playing at home. They did a great job playing at home. All 4 of our games were won at home. So we got to become a little bit more road warriors, play a little hard on the road. But other than that, I thought we finished up well in the conference we're in, and going into the conference this year and seeing the opponents that we have. The crazy thing about it, it's configured again. We had 3 teams leave the conference, and so now we got this configuration, and now these are the guys we're dealing with. But it's some of the same guys, and I feel real good about what we can do this year.
Good. Finishing third in the new conference when you pick to finish last, that's an improvement.
Well, I think we shocked some guys. When we showed up, I think guys were expecting to just kind of lay down. These guys got 43 scholarships. We got 63. This is going to be one of those wins. But our guys played hard. Played really hard.
Right. You actually had a guy that was signed free agent.
Yes, our defensive back by the name of Taven Harville. Tave got picked up by the Pittsburgh Steelers, which was weird because all the guys that were contacting me, it was the Eagles, it was the Ravens, and I don't think it was Chicago that was contacting us about him. And out of the blue, Pittsburgh picks him up. So he was shocked when I called. I said, "Pittsburgh picked you up?" He's like, "Yeah, coach, I hadn't even heard from them." And that's the one team hadn't heard from him, but they saw him. He did a great thing. He took advantage of an opportunity, something I was like reluctant for him to do. You know how they have those paid All-Star games?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, he called me and said, "Coach, what do you think?" I said, "Tate, be totally honest with you. If you want to play one more game, I'd say go ahead and pay it, because you want to play one more college game and enjoy." I said, "I wouldn't do it because it's a paid situation." He said, "Coach, I kind of want to play." I said, "Well, go ahead and do it, man. Go ahead and do what you want to do." Well, he paid to play in that game, and someone saw him play in that game. And then he was invited to another All-Star game to play in after playing so well in that game. And then that's how he ended up doing that, because now scouts saw him. And then next thing you know, we set up a pro day with Youngstown. He went to Youngstown. He busted 4.4.
Lord.
Yeah, he did everything he needed to do, and he's 6 feet tall. So you're talking about a 6 foot tall corner who can move the safety, who has the speed to run with guys. And then the games he had, the real good games he had, like against Central Michigan, he's running stride for stride with the receivers. Right. So there were things he was doing that made him pop off the screen. And he's one of those guys, man, you ask him to do something. Like we first got, he played wide receiver. And we were down on numbers at safety. I said, "Hey, Tate, man, you mind moving over to safety?" He said, "No big deal. I'll move to safety." First time he was over, they got a pick. So it's one of those situations like, "I'll play where you guys need me to play." He was a walk-on in Eastern Michigan. Then he walked on here, but he ended up earning himself a scholarship his last 2 years. And not only did he get his undergrad degree, he also got his master's degree. So he's a great story.
Oh, yeah. He went all the way around. Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. Yes, so now what you just started is you're going to have every senior next year pay to be in these paid All-Star games. And they're going to sign free agents too.
The crazy part about Deep Bear, you went through this. You played over in Canada for a little while, and guys don't understand. It isn't so much it's about opportunity as much as it's about talent.
Right.
It's a situation. There's 1,700 jobs in the NFL. That's why I always tell guys, there's 1,696. That's it. And everybody's vying for those jobs. And that's what people don't understand. It's not about how good you are, how great you are. You think you're better than this guy. You think a lot of times it's about getting the opportunity to do it and not wasting that opportunity. A lot of guys, you may get an opportunity to get there. Next thing you know, they're not studying film. They're not running full speed. They're not doing the things they need to do to stay there. It ain't just about getting there. It's like you and I have had this conversation. The reason I played 2 years because I didn't do what it took to stay in the NFL. I wasn't working the way I was supposed to work. I wasn't studying film the way I was supposed to study film. And when you don't do those things, this is what happens. You're going to get cut. There's a lot of guys that want those jobs. A lot of guys.
Listen,
a lot of talented guys.
Listen, when I was in Canada, my rookie year, every week was a tryout.
Mm-hmm.
Every week.
That's it. That's
I'll take that back. Every day, every practice was a tryout. Yeah. And if you did not perform to standard each individual day, you were out of it.
It's so funny you say that. One of our former players who I think has the ability to play in the NFL and play in the CFL, play anywhere. I think he's an unbelievable football player. His name's Mason Gray. He's playing an arena ball right now. And he came back and told the guys, he said, "Look, man, I'm not playing at the highest level. So I know what the competition is like there." He said, "I'm in arena ball." He said, "And every day you have to fight for your job." And every day, because he said, there's many times I've gone to breakfast, the guy that was playing next to me wasn't there anymore.
Out of there. But I'm telling you, that revolving door at the next level is very humbling. You could be laughing and chopping it up with your teammates. In the morning practice, afternoon practice, you on the plane. Seats up in the upright position. Tray tables up. You on the plane going home, which was my situation I'm talking about.
and again, but it happens to everybody, and that's
right.
What people understand. It's not a situation, and it's not because you're not good enough or whatever the situation may be. The guy may have a better day than you. So I always tell guys, don't get so caught up in football as the end all, the be all, and that nothing bothers me more when I hear a coach tell a young man, "Hey, if you don't have football, he didn't have anything." I hate when coaches say stuff like that to me. He didn't have football. Well, then as a coach, then you're not doing your job, because your job is to help these young men find their passion.
Right.
If they're football, okay. If you can't play in the NFL, why not be a scout? Why not be a GM? Why not be a coach? Why not be a player, a personnel player director? Something to be around the sport you love, or even in director of football operations, quality control. All those jobs are viable too, but everybody gets caught up in, I want to play.
You're right.
But you have a love for it, find another avenue into the NFL. That's what I always do. Let's find another. So don't act like football's the end all, the be all. If you can't make it in football, so okay, now I'm gonna go home and do nothing. I'm gonna go home and try out for the rest of my life. For the next 10 years, I'm gonna try to make somebody's team. It doesn't work out that way. And I've seen a lot of guys who've done it, because not only does a coach tell them that, they believe it in their heart that if they don't have football, they don't have anything, and they end up going astray.
Oh man, which is unfortunate. But yeah, man, if we had more opportunities to build pipelines through those behind the scenes positions, like you said, director of player football personnel or scouting, recruiting, if we had more opportunities like that, I think because when you get cut and you're not prepared for that, man, it's a very depressing time period I went through. I had no plan. I had no plan B. But nobody told me that, Aaron, listen, after you get cut, you could do this. You could get back in the sport that you love, with coaching or player personnel or recruit. No one told me that. So, but that message that you're speaking of, hopefully more coaches are telling their student athletes.
Well, you hope so. I mean, you hope that's exactly what they're telling these young men, that there is life after football, meaning that if you don't play in the NFL, there are other avenues to be around the sport you love. And that's what I constantly tell guys. I would never tell a young man that you can't make it anymore. Because you don't.
Yeah, we're not going to.
And it was my wife. It was my wife that came to me and said, "Baby, who are you to crush these guys' dreams?"
Oh, you crushed it.
but I mean, she was absolutely right. There's not a situation I should crush these, but I have to let them understand the importance of understanding that it may not be there. Because even if you play in the NFL for 10 years, you're still 33 years old.
Right.
When you get out. And that's what you have to come to understand. Those are things you need to come to understand. You're still a young man when you get out of the NFL. A lot of guys don't understand that. So you still need to understand, okay, how am I going to make this money work for me?
Right.
There's a crazy line, in a movie called The Players Club. And I remember, I ain't gonna use the term, but the young lady who was leading that, she said to the girl, she said, make the money. Don't let the money
make you. Right.
But that's what guys don't understand, is like they keep doing the same stuff with their money, to keep getting it, and they're not doing anything with it. You got to make the money and make sure the money's working for you. And that's what it boils down to. A lot of guys don't understand that. So if you play 1 year or 10 years, you don't understand that there's life after football, it's never going to work anyway.
Right. Well, I think that message is kind of getting out. It's getting out slow. But as I look at different former players' podcasts, and them, and then hearing what some of the current players are doing now, they are kind of leveraging that money, making it work for them. I've been seeing a couple stories where, well, this is mainly in the NBA. They're not even spending their contract money, which is
NBA is a little different than NFL.
It is.
Talking about guaranteed contract. Now, the thing about a lot of NFL contracts are becoming guaranteed. The upfront money's always been guaranteed, but they're trying to do those things because obviously it's the most dangerous sport. So
Right.
there's no doubt you just need to make those contracts guaranteed. But it's a little different. I think it's a little different because it's like baseball. It's always been different. In hockey and those sports, it's just football needs to become guaranteed money. And the other thing that's helping right now, and I think it could help college football, depending on how they work it, is the NIL.
Yes. Man, so let's talk.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's crazy. But the only thing that bothers me about it is it's becoming a bidding war. It's not about how good you are as a player anymore. It's like how much money I can make and things like that. I don't know the young man's name, so I'm not going to say his name, but he was one of the best at his position. So it didn't make a difference where he went. He was going to be drafted.
Right.
He decided to leave the school he was at and go somewhere else because of money. And okay, what are you going to do with that money? How are you going to handle that money? And is it him doing that, or is it someone behind the scenes saying, hey, we need to get this money now. We don't know what's going to happen. And does he know what to do with the money? I always ask people the same question because people always get caught up in the fact that football players and athletes don't manage their money right. Well, I always tell them, and when you were 21, 22 years old, and somebody dropped $3 million in your lap.
No clue.
And it's everybody. It's if a regular student at Liberty University, because that's where you went to school at, if a regular student at the time was a sophomore, and IBM came to them because they were a computer programmer and say, hey, we want to pay you $500,000 a year, and you're 19 years old, are you going to leave school? Yes. At 19 years old, you're leaving school. You're telling your parents you're going to work for IBM. Now, you have no idea what to do with this money if you haven't been around people that have that kind of money. Right. And unfortunately, that's a lot of situations. I'm not talking about black guys and white guys. I'm talking about people that don't know how to handle money. I mean, a lot of people are going broke, regardless if they're black or white, in pro sports. And that's what people don't understand. It's dramatized when it's a certain person. And that's what it boils down to. And the biggest thing, there are a lot of guys who are also rich when they leave the NFL who don't play and make a ton of money, but they know how to manage their money. And I think that's what's important. People need to learn how to manage their money.
Right. Now, in terms of the NIL, now coaches aren't saying this, but is that being used as a tool for recruiting? You think?
How can I be diplomatic about this? I'll be diplomatic and not say anything. How about that?
All right. That's enough for me.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. We can't.
Right.
We're at a smaller level. I don't have that kind of leverage. So I can't say what someone else is doing. I just know it's not something we can do. I tell guys all the time, if you go in the transfer portal and you come from a Power 5 school to Robert Morris University, I mean, let's be honest. You're coming from the penthouse. You're not going to be in the penthouse anymore. That's what it boils down to. I told guys, hey, when I talk to guys like that, I tell them quick, hey, first of all, you're going from flying planes to riding buses. You need to understand it's a low level. You're not going to get 6 pairs of shoes. It just doesn't work out that way. The only thing that's the same here, that field's still 100 yards long, and 53.5 yards wide.
Get opportunity.
That doesn't change. You're going to still be a football player. And if you don't get it done, you won't get on the field here either. Just because you're coming from a Power 5 doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be put on first team.
Oh, yeah, we've seen that before.
Yeah, we've seen it a lot. And that's what guys got to understand. The opportunity, you still got to take advantage of the opportunity. I think I told this before. When I was at Miami, when you walk from the training room to the locker room, there was a sign on the wall. And that sign said, preparation plus opportunity equals success. I read that thing every day. I read it every day. And I believed in it. And I believed in that opportunity at the University of Miami. And if you took advantage of it, if you were prepared when that opportunity came, you were going to be successful. Plain and simple. It doesn't make a difference where the opportunity comes. But guys transferring from a Power 5 and he's coming to Robert Morris University, okay, are you prepared for that opportunity? Because that's what it boils down to. You got a school that's looking at you different now than the last school, or are you going to take advantage of that?
Right. And here's how I see the NIL too. It's sort of like the league. Everybody's not making $10 million. It's only a certain amount of people. Your quarterback, your corners, your DNs. Not everybody is making $12 and $10 million a year. So in terms of the NIL, it's a great concept, but not everybody's gonna get paid. Yeah, it's only gonna be your top tier athletes. So everybody's making a fuss of how it's going to work, or is it going to work, or it's only going to affect a certain number of players on your roster, anyway. So
But the thing is, Aaron, like for example, let's say a guy gets $10,000.
right.
That may not be a lot of money to you and I,
Oh well, yeah,
but to where he's coming from,
right,
his background, that may be a ton of money.
right,
So he may leave a school just to go get $10,000, but be unhappy because he's not getting the same opportunities. The coaches aren't treating him the same. He's not looked at the same. All those things play into it. It's not just about the money. It's also about where I'm going to play college football at. And I think people get so caught up in the glitz and the glamour. They get so caught up in signing day, what hat they're going to put on. That last 15 minutes. Now, for the next 4 to 5 years, you're the one that has to go to that university and see if you can get along with those coaches, get along with the environment, get along with that team, get along with the system. All those things play into it. And that's what I explain to young men when they're talking about, well, coach, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at this. Don't get caught up in what hat you put on signing day.
right,
Understand this is where you're going to be for the next few years. And you need your parents to help you make that decision. Not make the decision for you, but help you make that decision, especially if your parents have been to college before.
right,
Especially
right,
if parents have gotten a job where they're having an interview. They got to make certain decisions. Certain things have to be answered. There's certain questions that have to be answered for you to go to that university. I always tell a young man, before you come on your official visit, this is what I want you to do. I want you to sit down with your parents, and I want you to write down 10 things that are important to me, 10 to 15 things that are important to me while choosing a university. Those, you don't know what those 10 or 15 things are, but those things need to be written down, and those questions need to be answered while you're at that university. What's the closest hotel that my mom and dad can stay at when they come on a game? How far is the airport from here?
right,
And in some cases, some young black students, well, how many black students are at the school?
right,
Those questions become more in HBCU. A white student may ask, a white player may ask, how many white students are at the school? So those questions need to be answered. But those are things that are important to you, not just who are important to everybody around you. I'm going to be here for the next 4 or 5 years. These things need to be answered, not about how much money can you give me. Because and I know there are a lot of unhappy people that make a ton of money.
ton of money, right, right. Man, it's a slippery slope, man, in athletics these days, man. I'm on my Instagram and Twitter, man. Even Pop Warner has gotten so commercial. Um, and it's just ridiculous, just to see and to watch, man. The environment is crazy these days.
Mm-hmm.
And social media has only magnified um what's been going on. Well, it's probably been going on for years, to be honest with you. But social media has definitely put a magnifying glass on some of the environments and the issues that are surrounding athletics. Even on the Pop Warner in AAU circles. It's crazy. It is
Yeah.
crazy. Cool. All right. So I mean, let's get into the meat of the actual interview. Um, the book.
Well, the great thing about it, what we've been talking about leads right into the book,
Right.
because this is the reason I wrote it. The reason I wrote it is because young men don't understand self-love. And
Right.
that's just an opinion that I have based on a lot of the guys I've been around, because the book was written because I just saw a lot of guys using their bodies like their tools.
Give the title of the book real quick.
The title of the book is Ascension, a coach's guide to becoming a better man, husband, and father.
All right.
Ascension because it's rising.
Rising.
It's rising. Better because you can always do better, no matter what. You can always be a better football player. You can always be a better father. You can always be a better man. You can always be a better. You can always do better because you're constantly evolving and constantly growing. That's why the book is what it is. But it's based upon the fact that when you're young, now you have 2 young boys.
Right.
When you're young, if you have a daughter, as a man, the first thing you're saying is, I don't want my daughter to deal with a man like me.
Right.
I don't want my daughter to get wrapped up in a dog. That's what we call them, quote unquote, dog. I don't want her to deal with guys like me. Well, why don't we tell our sons, I don't want you to be the dog I was. I don't want you to just try to sleep with this woman, sleep with that woman. I want you to cherish your body and understand that your body is a temple and it's a gift from God, and you should cherish it as such. And so that's why the book was written. So all these things that we've been talking about is based on how you feel about yourself.
Right.
When you're making a choice of what school you're going to, it's based on how you feel inside. Same way if you're basing on if you're just having sex with random chicks, if you have sex with a girl, let her come into your house, but won't let her stay in your house if you leave, what sense does that make? Doesn't make any sense. You're scared she's gonna rob the house, she could cut your throat. But you're not putting those things together. You just, again, using your body as if a tool. And that's why the book was written. It's all about self-love. It's not about sex. It's not about waiting until you're married. It's about knowing someone and the person knowing you. It's about, at least I want to know your last name and your favorite color.
Right. Right.
You know, I want you to be able to drive my car. I don't have a problem with you driving my car before I let you drive my body. I mean, that's what it boils down. You know, that's what it boils down to. I'm not just gonna have sex with some random girl. I care more about myself. I care about where I go. I care about where I put my body. I care about who I give my body to. And those things are extremely important.
And because Coach, because that message has not been told to young boys, we do put our bodies, we do put ourselves in some very compromising positions.
Absolutely.
Because we, you know, if you know, let's keep it real. You're having, this short-term relationship with this young lady. You hardly know. You're spending the night at her house. You don't know if she has an ex-boyfriend. You know if she got a baby daddy. You don't know where she. You don't know if she's crazy on the low. You have no idea.
No.
But if you love yourself enough, at least you want to cover the foundation of a relationship before you put yourself in that type of situation. But because we get told, smash and dash, get it how you live it, do your thing, and as many as possible. Because we get
There's
told
no
that
doubt.
message.
Well, the crazy thing is too, D Bear, like there's an example in the book that I use. I'm talking to a group of college students when I was teaching at a certain college, and I was giving a talk on abstinence because once I gave my life to Christ in May of 1996, I started practicing abstinence. I tell everybody I practice abstinence because I'd go 6 months and I slip up. I'd go a year and I slip up. So, because I had did years of not even worrying about it, so it was something I could just stop. But I went, and as long as I went was a year and a half. But I was talking to a group of college students, and I gave them a scenario, and I talk about the scenario in the book, and it's in the book, and you talk about a young man takes a young lady out for a period of time, and every night he takes her home, he gives her a kiss on the cheek, and he says goodbye to her, and this goes on for about 3 months, and relationship's going great. They're having a great time together. They're spending time together. Everything's going crazy, and I asked the young ladies in the crowd, I was like, now, he takes you home 3 months straight. He gives you a kiss on the cheek every night. What is the first thing you're thinking about? And in unison,
is he gay?
they said, he's gay. In unison, they said he must be gay. What was the second thing? The second
Something
thing
wrong
was,
with me.
Now, that was the third thing. The second thing was he must be horrible in bed. And the third thing was, what's wrong with me? Now, the crazy thing about that young man's going out with her, he's great time. He's thinking the same thing. If I don't try something, she's gonna think I'm gay.
Yeah,
if I don't try something, she's gonna think I'm bad in bed.
Yeah,
if I don't try something, she's gonna think something's wrong with her, because that's how we're conditioned to think. So men automatically try something because they believe of how she's thinking. And that's where the whole warp circle keeps going on and on and on. And that's what it boils down to. So that's the reason I wrote the book.
Man, boy.
You're laughing because you know it's on point. You're laughing, D-Man, because you know it's on point. That's exactly how.
Man, I'll tell you. Yeah, man. Yeah, that illustration is so on point. It puts a lot of people say, a lot of pressure gets put on women. To to have sex and to to go to third base and home plate. But men, the pressure that's on men and young boys these days, man. Well, not these days. Well,
Period.
these days, period.
No, period. Period.
Um,
Because when I was a kid, it was the same thing. You knew by the time you were 16 years old, you wasn't having sex on a regular basis. Oh, he gay.
Right.
And that's what it boils. And that's the crazy thing. And that's why, as a man, you have to have that self-confidence in yourself to be able to say, okay, if I don't try something and she asks me why, can I be confident enough to communicate to her that, hey, this is the reason. I care about you. I want this relationship to grow. I don't want this relationship to be just about sex.
Right.
I want this relationship to have some meaning to it, anything else.
Right.
The crazy thing about it is, and I say it in the book, everybody always says, I don't want to buy a car unless I test drive. Well, you know what? If you're looking at a woman as a car, there's something wrong. That's what it boils down to.
Or a cow.
Yeah,
You
we have no milk without. Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's what it boils down to. And people don't understand. But again, men never look at themselves. They are constantly looking at the woman. They're constantly looking at how she's thinking. They're never saying that, you know what, my body's precious.
Right.
I can't just keep going around having sex with every woman I see. I got to communicate. Because let's say it like this. You know and I know, D-Bear, sex is not, when you get married, sex is not 90% of the relationship. I thought it was before I got married. If you think you're going to be having sex every night, if you're married, you are sadly mistaken. And you know what? And to be honest with you, D-Bear, you know, and I don't, it ain't always just the woman that don't want to. Sometimes the guy. Yeah. That's what it, but to me, the most important thing in any relationship is communication.
Right.
You have got to talk to the person. If you're not going to have sex with a young lady or try to have sex with a young lady before marriage or before the relationship blossoms, then have a conversation about sex. And that's what it boils down to. Have a conversation about, okay, if we're not, explain to me why we're not. If we are, explain we're not. Have a conversation, get to know it. Like I said, I mean, find out what color she loves before you just want to have, it's just crazy to me. But again, as a young man, you know, and I know as we were growing up, of course I had to talk. I had to talk about sex, but I didn't have to talk to wait for sex. And that's the difference between young men and young women. And that's the crazy part. You'll teach your daughter don't have sex, but you teach your son smash and dash. What kind of sense does that make? So if every dad's telling his son smash and dash, but every dad's telling his daughter wait till you're married, that's just gonna be a
double standard. It's a double standard.
There's no doubt.
But I mean, where do these conversations originate? Like, how do we change? I know it starts with conversation. But in your eyes, like, what's the solution? How do you change the behaviors of something that's been going on for centuries?
You know, and I know Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Well, your mind.
You got to renew your mind. You got to understand that I can't think like that, and I got to be bold enough to say I don't think like that anymore. You know, in writing a book like this, saying that men need to love themselves more and stuff, you don't think I was thinking to myself, okay, wait a minute.
No, but it's needed though. It's needed.
But is it something I want to put out there? Is this a conversation I want to start with guys? And I said to myself, yes, it is.
Right.
Yes, it is. Like I said, it's not about sex. It's about self-love. And I think what it boils down to, once a young man learns to respect himself and love himself, he'll be able to love others even more. Because I talk about, you know, the love that God wants us to have for other people in the book, but it's also love that he wants to have us for ourselves.
For ourselves, right.
If you're respecting and loving yourself, all these things can easily be communicated to someone else who's in a relationship with you. And that's what it boils down. But the talks start because once you understand that, okay, this is how I think, I got to be bold enough to say, this is how I think. And I'm not going to say his name, but he went to school with you and played in the NFL. And him and I had these conversations all the time. And he was a virgin until he was married.
Right.
Conversation that him and I had one time. He said, Coach, let me explain something to you. He said, Coach, I think about sex probably more than you do. He said, but the difference is if I give it away, I can't get it back.
Man, that's the thing though too. Like,
and so that's why he waited. He said, Coach, I can't. He said, I can't just. This is special to me. I can't just give it to anyone. And I'm listening to him. He's on the phone. He said, Coach, this is special to me. I can't just give this to anyone.
Right.
I just can't give my virginity to anyone. She has to be worthy. And I'm thinking, wow. And he was bold enough to say this to me. And this is what helped me write some of the chapters in my book, because he was bold enough to come out and say, Coach, she has to be worthy, just like I have to be worthy of her. And that's what it boils down to. And once a man feels worthy and that woman feels worthy, then it's fine.
Right.
But if you don't feel worthy, I mean, and I know how many situations have there been where a man has fathered a child, or a woman has, given birth to a child, and they don't like each other.
Oh, it happens all the time. Yeah, it happens all the time.
So for the next 18 years, if you do the right thing and raise this child together, you have to deal with someone for 18 years that you don't want to deal with. If you're doing it the right way, you have to deal with it for 18 years. So you got to ask yourself, if you just ask yourself that question, do I love myself enough to where I can deal with this person that I'm really not getting along with, somebody I just want to have sex with for the next 18 years? Because there are a lot of mysteries in the world. You and I've talked about this before. There are a lot of mysteries in the world. Where babies come from is not one of those mysteries at all. Everybody knows where babies come from. Everybody knows how babies are produced. And everybody talks about how to make a baby. So it ain't that hard. So when a player comes to me and say, of course, I made a mistake. Hey, you made a mistake. You made no mistake. If you have sex with her without a condom, and things happen.
Oh yeah, you're asking for it. Yeah,
there's a chance your seed's gonna fertilize that egg. Period. The chance it may not, the chance it may. And that's what it boils down to. And the only way to keep from doing that is to not have sex with the person. Because even with a condoms break. So the only way to do it is at least wait till you respect this person enough to have a conversation about sex. Respect this person enough. It's like you said, one night stands and all this stuff, it's all fun and games until a baby's born.
Until a baby is born.
It's not fun and game anymore.
And we're not even talking about the emotional imprint that woman leaves on you and you leave on the woman. Nobody really deals with the emotional imprint that's left behind when you walk away from that young lady, or the young lady walks away from you. They leave an imprint.
Absolutely.
Whether it's good or bad. Most of the time it's bad, because it's, if you're walking away from anybody.
Well, there's a line in the book where I say the biggest thing to overcome when it comes to exactly what you're saying, ghosts never die. So it's hard to get over the things that happen. It's just because ghosts never die, and you don't know when they're gonna come up again. You know what I'm saying? If you're in a relationship, you're married, and things aren't going the way you want to go, that ghost may come up again. And that's the crazy thing about it.
Man, you never lied about that. I'm still struggling with one. I'm still struggling with one particular situation, man. But yeah, man. I think that book and the conversation is well needed. I know for sure, without a doubt, my two boys, a lot of the material that I'll be referencing will be coming from your book.
I appreciate it.
Because I don't want my sons to go through the things that I went through in relationships, especially as it regards to sex, right? I don't want them to have the same experience. I want them to see their bodies and I want them to see themselves as special, not something that you just hand out like Halloween candy.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
I'm with you. And the other great thing about D-Bray, I always tell people, man, ghosts don't die. And the thing you got to understand is exactly what you just said. You got to have these conversations with your kids. You have to. My mom and dad, before my father passed away in 2019, my mom and dad were married for 59 years. Jeez. So that's what I saw. Now, I'm sure they had the ups and downs of marriage, but what I saw was a husband and a wife. That's what I saw as a kid growing up.
Right.
And so people always ask me, do I have kids? No, I don't have kids, but not because I couldn't have
biological kids.
Yeah, I got a lot of guys that I'm a father figure to, but I don't have kids. But it was a choice. It wasn't like I was out here trying to do, and there were slip ups that just didn't happen. That's what it boils down to. But at the same time, I wasn't trying to, and there's nothing wrong with having a child out of wedlock. I'm not saying that at all. But I wasn't trying to get a girl pregnant that I didn't want to spend time with. I wanted to spend my life with. I wasn't trying to do that. And I've had some of my boys come and say, "Man, you sure if it works?" No, I'm not. And you know what? I'm cool with that. I'm cool if it don't work. That's what it boils down to. If it takes me having a kid from somebody I didn't like to see it work, I'm good.
Hey, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Hey, man, listen. Kids are hard work.
You got friends. I got friends who are in bad situations.
Bad. So, I got relatives too. That's in some
horrible situations.
I wouldn't wish some of this situation on my worst enemy, man. It's horrible. It's bad. But it just goes back to having that self-discipline and self-respect for your own body as a man, and knowing that some special young lady deserves what I have just as much as what she has is special. I got to work to get what she has too, but just knowing that what I have is special also. That's a conversation worth having. And I'll definitely have that conversation. Like I said, I'm going to definitely sit down and reference your book with my two boys, because, like I said, I just don't want my boys to make the same mistakes that I made. I really don't. So,
and that's where the conversation starts. You asked where the conversation starts. That's where it starts. It definitely starts. And I have these conversations with my players all the time. Of course, they look at me like, because they're old, they look at me like I'm crazy. But I'm sure we have some guys on our team that are virgins who wouldn't speak up because they feel like they'd be laughed at or whatever situation, mocked by some of the guys on the team. They wouldn't do it. But I'm proud of them and the fact they are. I'm proud that they're going to stay that way. Like, we had one of the guys that helped our team. He wasn't a player, but he helped our team. And I asked him, "Say you a virgin?" He said, "Yeah." I say, "Stay that way." He said, "Thanks, Coach. I appreciate you for saying that." And again, I want everybody to know this book is my opinion. This isn't. I didn't reference 100 people to figure out 100 people's opinion. This is just something that I observed through my eyes through the years that I was growing up and the young men that I've been around. I've been around football players for over 20 plus years right now.
Right.
Not even when I played and everything else. But I'm talking about as a coach. It's been 20 plus years that I've been around these young men and listening to them laugh about this and talk about this. And what really opened my eyes was the young men that weren't laughing about it. They weren't joking about it. It was serious to them because their bodies were important to them.
Right. And to be honest with you, so athletes, the great athletes, they do understand that their body is a temple, especially when you start using your body
in a different way, though.
But I'm saying it should be it should be across the board, though.
But they talking about the body as a temple. They talking about the workout.
But I'm saying I know, but it should be across the board. It should be in every area. The body is a temple. Bottom line, period.
Yep.
Hands down. That's even with your sexual relationships.
Absolutely.
Your body is still a temple.
Absolutely.
And every time you have intercourse, you playing Russian roulette on so many different levels.
Mm-hmm.
So the best way to kind of combat that is first put yourself in a situation where you're comfortable. Both of you guys have had the conversation. You know her, she knows you, or just don't do it at all, and that's fine too. But yeah, loving loving yourself and your tools enough to know that what you have is sacred and precious. Precious too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, because originally that's what we talked about, how precious the man. But people are like, precious when it comes to, because again, when you say words like that talking about men,
right?
It's weird. I talked about it the other day. When I was in college, I had a professor named Rita Deutsch. She's passed away. But I had her when I was at the University of Miami. I remember one of her classes. She taught this class, and she walked in and she said, "Hey guys, how everybody doing?" And everybody spoke. Everybody in the classroom spoke. Girls, everybody spoke. And it was so funny. She said, "If I walked in here and said, 'Hey gals,' all the guys would look at me like I'm crazy. When I can walk in and say, 'All guys, hey guys, how you doing?' and everybody speaks." It's the same thing I just said. I can say my body's precious, but people look at me like, "Hey, what you mean precious?" You know, because it's a feminine word, and that's the weird thing about. But it is. Your body is precious. Your body is sacred. Your body is a temple of God, and you should treat it as such.
You should treat it as such. Right. But I mean, it's just an ego thing. It really is. It's an ego thing, and it's hard. It's hard to. I swear to you. When I was in Canada, so we were a good team. Shout out to G Roy. Shout out to D Marsh. Shout out to all those guys, man. We were a great team. We went to the Grey Cup. We set a franchise record. I think we won like 8 or 9 straight. So we were a good team. And with any good team, and we were in Vancouver. The conversation in that locker room, man, at the games, it was fierce. And if you weren't strong enough, man, and I wasn't, yeah, you just feed into that, man, and you put yourself in some very compromised positions. And it was just tough. You got to make sure that you have a strong ego, you have a strong self-confidence about yourself, because if you don't, when you're in a locker room with alpha males, on that level, on that caliber, man, it could be tough.
It takes over, no doubt. But there's one thing: a conversation can always be had with men by talking about 3 things. Like I always talk about my love for Christ, and I always talk about giving my life to Christ, but I always prereface it with 3 things. I either talk about sports, I either talk about money, or I talk about sex.
Mm-hmm.
Because men are going to always relate to those 3 things.
Right.
And the prerequisite that I give is going to lead to, but I gave my life to Christ.
Right.
And that's what I want them to understand. This is what I used to do. This is how I used to act. And now I've given my life to Christ, because it's a renewing of the mind. Until you understand, until you change it in your mind. And one of my chapters in the book is called Change is Inevitable, but growth is a choice. Are you going to grow? Are you going to grow with those changes? And that's what it boils down to. And that's what I like to talk about, because when I talk about sports, money, sex, it's going to always lead to, but I gave my life to Christ, and those things have changed. Now, what's the hardest one to shake? Lust.
Undefeated champion of the world.
Yeah, I tell people it is the hardest one to shake, and it's hard. But if you start out like the young man that you played with, and your mind is, I'm not doing it, it's not hard to shake. It's when you have those ghosts that it's hard to shake.
You're right. So yeah, I had a chance to. So you had your book signing here in Tampa, and I had a chance to check you out your book signing. Just talk about how that felt. Like, how did you feel? Like I was proud of you. So when you text me and said, D-Bear, I'm on the final chapter of the book. The book will be out such and such date. I was shocked. First of all, I didn't know that you was actually going through the process of getting the book out and finalized. But to hear that was almost finishing out, and then when you sent the copy of the book, I was like, man, it blew me away. I mean, not too many people write books, to be honest with you, especially where we come from. But to know that you had actually wrote your book and followed through with Eli, I was proud of you. I really was. I was really proud of you for doing it. Because I know it's been something that has been on your heart for 2 decades.
Yeah.
And the fact that you had a chance to do it now and you did it, I was very happy for you. So just talk about your book signing, how you actually felt when you held that book in your hand.
Well, the weird part is I normally don't get nervous in front of people, but normally when I'm talking in front of people, it's about football. It's about sports. It's about something I've been doing since I was 8 years old. But
Right.
standing up there, even that's why a lot of the signatures were bad and the writing was so bad because I was nervous because
Right.
that was an element I'd never been a part of. That's an environment. Like you asked me how the book sales going. I have no idea. I don't know if this is good or that's good because it's never happened. And I heard someone say this, and there's a difference between what matters and what's important.
Mm.
It matters that I sell books. There's no doubt about it. It matters that the book gets out there and everything else. But what was important is that I finished it because God put it on my heart. And what's
Absolutely.
important is that the message that I'm trying to relay gets out. That's what's important. But it does matter that I sell books. So I was there to try to sell books, but it was even more important for me to be there to thank the people, my mom, my wife, my family, my friends, everybody that's been there. I had a sixth grade teacher show up there. One of my sixth grade teachers showed up to it. I had a
Wow.
friend that she was the cheerleader for me when I played Pee Wee football. So and yeah, that's how far it went back. So all those people were there. So those things were extremely important to me. But to be in that element was kind of nerve-wracking, to speak in
Right.
that and speak about what I was speaking about. But it's something I can speak of because I feel strongly about it. It isn't
Right.
something I don't believe in. I believe that every young man should look at his body as being precious, as being a gift from God, as being a temple, and understanding the importance of not just using it as a tool and throwing it here and throwing it there. So I believe in that, but at the same time, it was nervous. It was nerve wracking.
I couldn't tell. I mean, we all know you were top box. We all know that. But I definitely give that. You did a good job. You did an excellent job.
Appreciate it.
You had a lot of love in the building. You really did.
Mm-hmm.
It was good to see. It was good to see.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't expect anything different, especially being in your hometown of Tampa. It was really good seeing your mom and your sisters and your niece. It was really good seeing them supporting you. And I definitely know 100% that your dad is looking down, smiling down on you. And
Appreciate it.
you even talked about that in the at the book signing. This is the only event out of all your accomplishments.
Major events. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't there. It's the first one he wasn't there. And it hit me after he passed when we played BMI the next week and we won the game. And I used to talk to my pops after every game.
Right.
Since I was a kid. Whether it was that night or whatever, I've always been able to talk to him after every game since I played. And for him not to be there, it was kind of weird. And that was the other part of the nerves too, because he's usually there and he's usually making a joke or saying something crazy, to kind of calm my nerves a little bit. He's the one, before we played the 1988 Orange Bowl, walked out on the field. He saw me walking around. He grabbed me. He said, "You ain't got anything to prove to anybody. Take your butt in there and do what you've been doing all year long.
Absolutely.
Only people that matter is coaches and your teammates. That's it. Don't worry about anybody else, media or anything like." And he calmed me for the game. So he's always been there. For him not to be there is weird. But the thing about it, D-Bear, the great thing about it, I know it took me a long time to finish this, but it came out exactly when it was supposed to come out.
Right.
Because the way I'm expressing how I feel about it, I couldn't express this back when I was 35. I couldn't have expressed this back when I was 45. I couldn't express this when I was 50. This is when I can express this. This is when I can speak truly about what I believe in and the reason I wrote this book. And this is how I believe. Now, is every young man going to do this? I don't know. And people ask me, some of my friends have asked me, if you had this book when you were a kid, would it have made a difference? I have no idea.
Right.
But I wish I did. And that's the biggest reason, one of the reasons I wrote it, because I wrote it thinking about if I was a kid and I had this, would it have changed my mind on some things? Don't know, but I'm hoping to change some young men's minds.
Well, the fact that you wrote the book and it's out there, you've already impacted more young men now than if you wouldn't have written the book.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, should you be concerned about how big of an impact? Yes and no, but I say no because more young men are going to get the lesson and the message that their body is something that they should be taken seriously, and they shouldn't give it out just to any young lady who comes across their attention. So I mean, it's right on time, and I'm blessed, and I'm grateful that I had a chance to kind of connect you with Eli, and you guys got a chance to.
Well, you're definitely a big part of it, my brother.
Oh man, listen. I'm really humbled by having the opportunity to link you guys together. and making sure that you had at least had a chance to chat with Eli and see if that was an option just to publish the book. So I'm very humbled that I had a chance to help you get your message out there. So
Appreciate it.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. So what's next? Any book tours across the
No,
country?
what I'm trying to do, to be totally honest with you, like I told you, D-Bear, before we started the recording process of this, is I want to do at least 7 or 8 podcasts to get the book out there, because again, it matters that I sell books. Even more important, I want to get the message out that young men's bodies are precious. The young men's bodies are just as important as a young lady's body, and they should treat it as such. So I want to get the message out there. So hopefully between now and, because once the season starts, this book tour is over, whatever it is. And we're gonna try to win some football games. Once August 4th, we're talking about football. And right now, I want to get some podcasts out there and talk to some different people about it. Get their opinion about it. Different people that have read it. And like you said, get the message out there. Chop it up with some older guys who have sons, who understand, man, this is how I want my son to treat himself. But not only that, this is how I want him to treat a young lady.
Right.
And I want my daughter to know these are the kind of young men I want you to date and be around. A man isn't just after what you have, but it's after your heart.
Right. Well, man, job well done. Yeah, I'll definitely do what I can. I know my YouTube network isn't as big as others, but whatever I can do to push the message out and get it out there.
You just did it, my brother. You just did. That's what it boils down. It doesn't make a difference if it reaches 100 people or 100,000 people. You never know.
Interviews with you are certainly popular. So, oh man, when I put the first one out there, man, it was it was definitely false, a little pseudo success for me, because after that. I did not have the same success.
Well, you gotta remember too, we know a lot of guys from colleges. So the fact that you know a lot of guys in college, and I know a lot of guys in college, it's gonna happen because we're having a conversation. Some of your old teammates will watch it, and now you're talking to a coach. It's gonna be like, oh, he's talking to a coach. What are they gonna talk about? And one of my high school friends, he wrote, and it's so weird. I think it was a guy I knew from high school. He wrote down, and it was crazy. He said, you've played football all your life. You've been around football all your life, but you didn't write a book about football.
About football,
He said that's incredible. And I told him, I said, because this is my purpose.
Right.
This is not football is what I do.
Well, young men is always you never hit that. You never hit that message that young men has always been. You just use football to teach and to nurture young men. But young men has always been your passion and your mission.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. I didn't start coaching because of the X's and the O's. How the old saying goes, I started coaching because of the Jimmys and the Joes.
Jimmys, Joes, right. Cool. Yeah, well, man, I definitely I thank God above for our relationship. Well, I know we don't talk on the regular like we used to, but when we do, they're great conversations that we can talk about whatever. And that's what I like about our relationship. We can talk about whatever, whether it be football, relationships, marriage, anything, money, because you do got more money than me right now.
Like you said, right now. I got more years behind me than I do in front, so you're good.
It's all good. But listen, they say men don't hit their financial what is it? They don't fit it until they get to what? 45, 50?
I don't know. You know me.
Yeah, right.
You know me. I'm tight as a drum. I ain't trying to spend no money.
Oh yeah, I hear you. I already know.
I've been in my peak for a minute because I ain't trying to spend nothing.
Hey, you still got money from Liberty Day, from JMU days.
So yeah, man. But D-Bear, man, I really appreciate this, man. Thanks for putting me on the phone with you, and thanks for chopping it up. I really appreciate you.
No doubt about it. Anytime, just let me know. But as far as the season, who's the first game?
Man, who is our first game?
I'll put you on the spot.
I think it's Dayton. I think Dayton's our first game of the year. And then we play after Dayton, we play Miami of Ohio. Comes after that. So that's how it's going forward. So we got a home game first, then we play Miami of Ohio. And again, it's going to be a tough season. And that's just the non-conference games. I'm not even talking about the Charleston Southerns. You know how they are.
Right.
The Gardner Webbs, North Carolina A&Ts, all those teams are on our conference schedule. So it's going to be a tough one, but I think it's going to be a tougher camp than we've ever had. I'm going to drive these guys pretty daggum hard this camp because we got to have the right mindset. I think the 2020 season kind of put everybody out of whack,
right,
in some way or another. And I'll be the first to admit I pulled back a little bit because of all the things that were going on. So I'm gonna have to get in there and get after them a little bit more and have guys working a little bit harder because we got a goal we're trying to achieve, and that goal is trying to win the conference championship.
Man, go easy on the coaches, please. Go. Not gonna happen.
I can't promise you that.
Coaches got feelings too.
Oh no, and I know I don't use profanity, so it's pretty easy. I can go after it pretty hard. I mean, sometimes you probably want me to use profanity the way I go on.
Man, like that doesn't matter because you don't cuss. That doesn't matter. You think that matters?
I think all the coaches, all of us on the same page because we felt like we lost some games last year that we shouldn't have lost. And now that we go back and we self-scout stuff and we're looking at games and we're like, what were we doing? What is this? Why are we missing a line here? Why are we running this play on this down against this formation? So there's so many things we're looking at and things we could have fixed. We could have just beat a team another point here, another first down here, keep the drive alive and stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes. But like I said, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be a situation where they're coming in and we're going to push them pretty daggum hard.
Well, the Big South has always been competitive. It's been shaken up many times throughout the years since the Big South has formed. But the Big South has always been competitive from the beginning times. With it was us, Gardner Webb. When Coastal came in, that instantly became one of our rivals.
Yes.
I hate Coastal to this day. I do. I hate Coastal.
You got Stony Brook. You got Charleston Southern.
Yeah. Woo-wee.
We had some teams back then. And I know. And Gardner Webb was a huge one. So yeah, no doubt about it. But those teams are still there. And those teams are still pushing.
Wow. Good. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you the best, Coach. You guys don't come nowhere near the close to Florida or Georgia.
No. Closest we get is Charleston Southern. That's the closest to Georgia. Charleston Southern.
So hold on. So you guys play in Charleston this year?
Yeah, we're playing Charleston Southern. We're playing them at Charleston Southern this year.
That's actually not a bad trip for me. I'll look in your schedule and see when it is. And
just let me know you'll have tickets. You know that.
Okay, cool. All right, Coach. Yeah, man. Good having you on. Any parting words you wanna share?
No. Only thing I'll tell you is this, and like I've always said to you, Bernard Clark Jr. And the reason I use a junior is because of my dad, and I give everything I can to him and my mom for how they raised me and what they showed me and the life they showed me, and being married 59 years and that being what I want to achieve and how I love my wife.
I love your family. I do, man. The most genuine people in the world. I used to love coming in and talking to your dad coming to the door. And if he wasn't wiping down the car?
Oh, he cleans his car now. He kept his car clean. So
talking with your sisters, your mom, even your nephew. I know you got some interesting things to say about your nephew from time to time. But yeah, even your nephew, your niece, everybody is really down to earth, really cool. Love your family, really do. Really
Thanks,
do.
Appreciate it.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
All right, Coach, I'm out of here. Love you, man. Anything, let me know, and we'll see if we can make it happen.
Love you too, D-Bear, man. Thanks for the interview, man. Thanks for the conversation.
No doubt. Have a good rest of your day.
You too.